Some people were ignored as kids, some were mistreated, and some were just not wanted, not comforted, not encouraged, not loved, barely tolerated. If that was you, you probably figured out how to survive. But surviving isn't the same as living. And the effects don't disappear just because you became an adult. It shows up in what you tolerate. It shows up in who you choose and in the way you make yourself small to avoid being pushed away again. Now, I don't doubt that it happened to you, but let's talk about how you can stop it from shaping who you are now. Now, maybe you weren't actively told your parents never wanted you, or maybe they did. But if people acted like you were too much or not enough or just a burden, or you were blamed for your parents' problems, then you probably already know how hard it is to feel strong in the world. Maybe you weren't hit or yelled at, but no one made room for you. No one looked out for you. And somewhere along the way, it started to feel like you were always in the way. You might still find yourself stuck in that dynamic. Wherever you go, you're too much. You try to need nothing. You try to explain yourself. You shrink. You work hard to be accepted. You wait to be rejected. You stay where you're not treated well, just to avoid being alone. Now, my dad, my biological dad, was thrilled that I was born. Now, on the other hand, it became obvious with my mom that she was playing a role she didn't want. Everything in her actions was an escape from being a married mother. They split up when I was 7, and she married a new guy, and she took my siblings and me out of state. So they were all we had, was my mom and stepdad. And she was a drinker, and as her alcoholism got worse over the years, it meant that she was always intoxicated and definitely not present with us. And like all people, she'd get frustrated with life sometimes and depressed sometimes. But because she was drunk, she'd just say the ugly thoughts out loud. I should have never had you kids. Now, for better and worse, we'd sort of laugh at this. But the fact is, she was cold, she played favorites, and I was not her favorite, and she was too caught up in her own struggles to know when we were struggling, or to pay attention to how we were doing in school, or even when we were teenagers, if we came home at all. Now, I knew not to take it personally, intellectually, but stuff like that just gets in and it shapes you. I was terrified as a kid that she'd run off from the family and leave us and never come back. She would leave. She'd usually come back within a month or so, but nobody knew if or when she was coming back. The whole family would be, totally in a panic. Relatives would care for us or come get us, or we'd go stay with friends. We never knew, what's going on. And that fear of abandonment came up over and over and over again in my life. That and this electric third rail of self-doubt that would pop into my consciousness anytime I got close to anyone. Anytime I had a conflict, I would get that feeling, nobody wants you here. You're too much. But when you're feeling it, it's kind of like what people are telling you back. I would get rejected for those things. Have you ever had that? Had somebody tell you that? It's soul crushing. And the problem is, it keeps you stuck in situations where you're never really chosen. You're only tolerated. It makes you override your gut, silence your instincts, explain away the bad behavior. It keeps you playing small and staying busy and pleasing people who they don't care. And if you don't recognize what you're doing is a trauma symptom, you'll think it's just how life is. But it's not. Everything you do to heal from your past trauma is going to counteract this poisonous idea, this trauma-driven idea of yourself. It's part of becoming aware that you've internalized not being wanted. Now you're externalizing that in the form of decisions, relationships, and jobs that keep putting you through the unwanted feeling, that experience again. And that's how it works. You believe it in here, and it shows up out here. And both the inner and outer manifestations of feeling unwanted are some of the worst aspects of the connection wound, that pain that seems to hurt all of us who grew up with trauma. And if you think trauma is affecting your ability to connect, I have a list of signs that you can look at. It's free to download. It's called the Connection Quiz. I'll put it in the top line of the description section below this video, so you can grab that now if you like. A pattern this deep in how you think about yourself and relate to other people takes time and practice to heal. And I hope you make that a high priority in your life. It's very important that you heal that. You also will need things that you can do in the moment when you can feel that poison feeling rising up in you, that thought that no one wants you. That's a trauma thought. Now, you don't want your life run by those. So here are some quick things that you can do to get out of that thinking. 1, pay attention to who drains you. You don't have to diagnose anyone, just notice. Who leaves you tired? Who leaves you second-guessing yourself, over-talking, or shutting yourself down? Pull back even a little and notice what happens. Number 2, don't stay where you're merely tolerated. If you're constantly trying to explain your value or prove your worth or keep someone interested, stop. That's not connection, that's fear. Number 3, catch yourself when you perform. Sometimes you smile, agree, laugh, or comfort someone, not because you feel it, but because you think you're supposed to. That's self-abandonment. So start noticing it, and then stop doing it. Number 4, use silence. You don't have to over-communicate or justify or explain what's bothering you. Just step back, let the moment breathe. Let people show you who they are without you filling in the gaps. Number 5, let some things go unanswered. If someone ghosts you or insults you or plays games, just let it be. Don't chase it down for closure. If you've ever heard my thing about closure, it's code for trying to get things going again with somebody. I know there's this great idea that closure would stop the pain, but closure is what happened when the whole relationship blew up. So start treating disrespect like a closed door. Being unwanted teaches you how to survive without connection. It teaches you to keep your needs quiet. It teaches you to attach to people who can't or won't show up for you. The habits that got you through childhood aren't working anymore. They weren't wrong, they just don't belong in your life now. So you might still think you have to earn, belonging. You might believe that if you relax, people will lose interest in you. You might think being invisible is the only way to avoid being rejected. But none of that is true. It's not enough to know it, though. You have to live like it. So there's nothing defective about you. You have normal wounds from the kind of trauma that happened to you, and nothing is missing. You don't need to be someone else to be worth keeping. The people who couldn't love you, that's on them. But if you're still living like that kid, still accepting crumbs, still apologizing for having needs, that's part of you now. And if you're ready to change that, I've just published the book that tells you how. It's called Connectability. Heal the hidden ways you isolate, find your people, and feel at last like you belong. And I'll put a link to that in the second row of the description section below this video. This book is powerful and not like anything else you've ever tried. And I tell the story of how I walked myself out of that disconnection to start having a full life. And I think you're going to love it. So I put that there if you want to check it out. You're not meant to stay stuck in the roles that you've had to play to survive. You're allowed to stop managing people. You're allowed to stop performing for scraps. And you're allowed to stop settling for, not terrible. You're allowed to leave. You can disconnect. You can stop answering. You can start protecting your energy like it actually matters, because it does. And if you were the child no one wanted, it makes sense that connection is hard. It makes sense that you don't always trust people. And it makes sense that you've been living in patterns that keep you stuck. But you don't have to stay there. You can stop reacting like the old danger is still happening. You can stop chasing what's not good for you. You can start choosing peace over chaos, even if it feels unfamiliar. This is where the shift happens. Not when you feel ready, that I'm not ready, I don't feel ready. It starts when you decide to just be done living that way. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. I felt like something was chasing me, and I gave a name to it. I call it a pack of wolves. There aren't actually wolves. It was emotion, and that's what was coming to get me. And it was a feeling, usually sadness.